Welcome back to all our listeners. It's that time of the week again, where we discuss all things FPL on the First 45 podcast, brought to you by Craig and Darren.
Hello, you're listening to the First 45 podcast. With me as always are Darren and Craig. How are you guys?
I'm absolutely delightful. I'm just absolutely fantastic right now. I mean, to be honest, I'm absolutely buzzing that I've now created some daylight between the two of you and our mini league.
Here we go. I thought we'd strip this out of the script, Craig.
I saw the strike through in my notes. What is it? Over the words.
20 odd points. You ain't out of the woods yet, Nip.
Yeah, I'm not counting on my chickens, but I'm feeling confident. I'm not even making any transfers this week, so I'm feeling confident at the moment, Dazza. I'm not normally like that. I'm a bit of a pessimistic player at times. So
you are doing well, mate. Fair play to you. Hats off.
Cheers, mate. How are you?
Yeah, very good. I'm okay, mate.
Robbie
He's
Williams.
not got a lot to say. The FPL is not
Robbie
really
Williams
good.
down here, sing when he's winning, eh? Jesus, wept.
Oh dear. Get the old violins out.
Well, come on then, Craig. Tell us. We'll start with you first. How did you get on this week? Just run for your team.
Look, good. Look, rafter transfers, wildcard played. Nacho and Lingard absolutely doing the business for me. What's that, 27 points between them? Couldn't be happier, to be honest. Don't want to rub it in too much. We've probably got everyone tuning out already on the podcast if they haven't got them. So I won't go on about it too much. But yeah, no, really good for me. Captain Salah as well. Got some points. I saw some people, opting for the likes of Sterling, maybe even KDB, and then getting a bit outdone because their vice captain was on someone that didn't do very well either. So yeah, I'm happy with that all but told. 77 points and a rank rise of 16k from 31k to 15k. So knocking on the door of the top 10k now.
Don't peak too soon though, eh? Let's hope that's not the finish there.
No, exactly.
What about you, Daz?
Not too bad, mate. 59 points, up to 31k. Small green arrow from 35, so pretty steady week. Lost a bit more ground on Craigie in the old mini league, which was a bit disappointing, but other than that, it was all right. Well card played. Highlights have to be, as Craig said, Iheanacho, superb. Son, I was pleased with Sonny because he was a player that I was considering not bringing in on my wild card and bringing him in ready for the double game week this week, and I went early with Son, so I was pleased to see him get a goal against United. Holden, 4.2 value there, 8 points coming in for me. That was good. The biggest disappointment, of course, was benching Messi Lingard. Absolutely had one.
Not going to live it down.
Do you know what? I was having a lovely Sunday, having a game of golf. The sun was shining. I was playing well. And all of a sudden, the skies went a bit grey. And Joey took great pleasure in telling me about Jay Lynn scoring a couple of goals.
I can imagine his laughter on the course as well. But it was absolutely rip-roaring, wasn't it?
The joke was on me, though, because I had Iheanacho on the bench, and then he fired one in, and then he fired another one in.
That wiped a smile off your face.
Darren's there going, yep, I've got him. Oh.
So the two of you were on the golf course. I like this story. And then, of course, you're probably rubbing your hands together, Joe. I know what you're like. You'd have been rubbing it right in that Jay Links has got a first half prize.
Oh, yeah.
Thinking,
hey, no more than you here, mate. No more than very graceful.
No chance. Oh dear. And then it all comes swinging back right in your face then when old Nacho picked up a brace in the 90th minute, wasn't it? Injury time.
But
yeah. And I've got him first on my bench.
Hands up from me there anyway. It was never a bench Lingard, was it, to be fair? But,
we did say that on the last pod, didn't we, mate?
To be honest,
you've got too many players. You've got too many players,
and you
mate.
got away with murder, Dan, because you had Holding on the bench as well, didn't you?
Yeah,
come on for an 8.
For DS.
Jesus, wept.
No, I didn't actually.
I started. No, he started it.
Holding. It was Cody. I had Cody come on.
That's not.
Oh, for 6.
I had Holding come on, Joey. I had Holding come on. So, but we were on wildcard, mate. You got to build a squad. I just don't think I would have had.
So did I, but I had Diaz come off, and then I had Phillips come on for 2. An Iheanacho on the bench.
There we go.
I did like your little voice message, when we were on the 17th. I brought that one out, Craig, which was for the listeners' benefit. I played it right behind Darren's ear, and it was Craig in the most sarcastic voice doing the Curb Your Enthusiasm theme tune, and Darren was absolutely silent throughout the whole period of it. It was brilliant.
Well, look, lads, as we move forward, those two players are not the two players that we bench. You don't bench Iheanacho, you don't bench Lingard. Too good a value, bang in form, super confident. You learn from your mistakes. Start them every week. And if you don't own them, bring him in.
So let's get into matters of the day. Got a double game week for Spurs in game week 32. Craig, how are you planning on attacking that game week? Because it looks a massive standout with Kane and Son playing the way they are, scoring points at the moment in FPL.
Absolutely. So I've set up already on Wildcard that I just played for game week 31. So I've got little Serg Reguilon at the back, and I've got Son, I've got Kane. Without doubt, I'm captaining Kane, not even going to overthink it. I won't be playing any chips this game week, so I don't own the triple captainship anymore. If I did still own that chip, again, that would be going straight on Kane as well. No overthinking from me. You have to just go on Kane. Again, it's always decision over outcome. The decision is the right one, like without a shadow of a doubt. Don't start overthinking that, listeners. Just go for Kane. Don't start looking in the numbers, the stats. On paper, it's a Kane triple captain and a Kane captain for me all day long, and then you just try and work around it. And if I didn't own both Son and Kane, I would be making sure I own both. Of course, the Reguilon play by me is, it's the icing on the cake. It's a luxury move that I've made, and again, I'll look to try and move him out in game week 33. But yeah, I would be looking to pull up trees to own both Son and Kane this week without a shadow of a doubt.
I totally agree with Kane captain. Got to be the standout captain for this week. I currently own Son and Kane. Thoughts differ a little bit to Craig. I'm not massively sold on Spurs. I know obviously they've got the double game week, but Craig mentioned putting up trees to get Son in. I think Kane, yeah. Son, I'm not sure. Not totally sure. The form's just, I don't like the look of Spurs at all, and I've personally no interest at all in getting a third asset from Spurs. Just on Son, I think if you've got a straightforward transfer there for Son, by all means go for it. He is a good player for this week, but if you've got to take hits, you rip up your team. I'd give it a little bit more thought, maybe.
Very interesting. I'm personally going to be missing out on Son, but it was a calculated gamble that I took when I did my wild card, but it may come back to bite me. Okay, so moving on, the following game week 33, is a blank, and we've got Spurs and City along with Fulham and Southampton, who are not going to have any players playing in that game week. What are you thinking around that one, Darren?
Yeah, so currently on 2 City, 2 Spurs, so currently on 4 blank game week players, so I will be rolling in a transfer this week in 32 to help me navigate 33 with that extra free transfer. Probably likely to hold Diaz and Gundogan. I still think that both of those are good value, particularly Diaz now, who's had a rest, and I'm fully expecting him to come back into the team. Sonny, I'm probably most likely to sell Son out of the 4. Mentioned it a couple of pods back. There was a little bit of a fixture swing for Villa coming up, so if Grealish can get back his fitness, he's a player I've probably got my eye on. And not totally sure about Kane. Yeah, he's a player I'm a little bit torn on. Possibly hold, possibly sell.
Wow. Interesting that you're thinking about that for Kane. I have to say, I think for me, probably going to keep him in for the rest of the season. I'll be looking to bench Diaz personally. I only own one City player. I'm not going to get rid of him. He'll be into the end of the season as well. No luxury moves, really, I think, at this stage of the season. Only 7 odd game weeks left. Not a lot of transfers left. So I'll be holding him. And I'll be holding Kane, as I say, so they won't be leaving. I'll just be benching them. And then I only have, outside of that, I have Sonny and Reguilon. So one of those will be going. And again, likelihood will be Reguilon, to be honest. He brings nothing to the team for me. It's just literally an added bonus for this game week. I'm not trying to sell him to anybody. I had the wild card. I wanted 3 Spurs. Why not? It's double game week, and I can easily move him on in game week 33 for, a Villa or a Wolves defender that have good fixtures to make sure that I'm covered for 33. So again, I'll roll the transfer this week, and then I'll look to move Reguilon out. And I like to keep Son. I think his fixtures are not bad, and I like the Sheffield United fixture in game week 34 at home. You just don't know what's going to happen, but I expect goals. I think Spurs will put 3 past them, so I'd like to keep Son if I can.
I just don't fancy Spurs that much at the minute. I watched that United game. I don't know. They're just so poor. I think
They looked all at sea, didn't they, at the back? But
I agree. They don't look good, but the fixtures are quite nice. They've got a double, they got a blank, and then they got Sheffield United. I mean, you can't get much better than that. Look, when they didn't look great, I can't remember how many game weeks ago it was, but let's say it was 5 or 6 game weeks ago. They played Burnley at home. I think they destroyed them. Was it like 4-0 or something? I can't remember, but they certainly put a few goals past them. I think that was when Bale was in the big points. He got the big 19 pointer. Kane was in the points. They didn't look good then, and Burnley are solid. So Sheffield United certainly aren't Burnley.
So moving on and talking a bit more detail there about City, because I know we've just touched upon them. Obviously, they went through last night after having fireworks outside their hotel room going off all hours by the sounds of it. You've got Pep fighting on all fronts now. Does that make Pep Roulette just too risky to take on in these last few game weeks? Craig, you got any views on that? I know you've made some comments there to Diaz, but would you want to talk a bit more about that?
Yeah, it certainly got me thinking. Hence why I opted just for Diaz on wildcard, I guess. A blank in 33 also made that decision a little easier for me. And I'm not really chomping at the bit right now to add in a KDB or a Gundo, because it looks like both are getting rests. The priority is to try and do the quadruple. Obviously, they're in all competitions, and I would not put it past that team at the moment to go on and do that. But you just know that Pep is definitely targeting the Champions League, right? He's won the other competitions. It is for him all about winning that Champions League with City. So that is the absolute pinnacle for them. That is the priority in my eyes. I think the league is as well, for sure, given that Liverpool won last season. But he wants that Champions League. So yeah, I'm not jumping for either at the moment. And when you've got the likes of Jota and Lingard, even Sonny obviously getting a goal in the last game, and they've obviously got a relatively nice run of fixtures, all of them, or they're banging form. Again, I don't need to make those moves right now. I'm basically content without. Diaz is fine for me. But that said, when it gets to sort of game week 34, 35, I've got the odd transfer free and I feel like I can predict the Pep Roulette. Sometimes we can, depending on his side, depending on who he plays in the competitions prior. Sometimes you can semi-predict him, but at the moment, I'm likely to only have the one City asset now until sort of game week 34, 35, which does feel risky because without a doubt, they're the best team in the league, hands down. And KDB can go and weigh in with a 15 plus pointer, no problem. So I feel like it's a worry, but I think because very little people own him in the sort of upper echelons of the rankings at the moment, you're not seeing a lot of people with a KDB, are you? So it doesn't really concern me too much.
Yeah, you make some good points there, mate. I think I'm with you with Diaz. Diaz is in for the season for me now. I think at his price point, and he's so important to them. I think you mentioned, of course, fighting on all fronts, but momentum as well is a big thing. I think, look, they're going to win the league now, whatever team they put out each week. But it's a little bit reassuring, perhaps, at the fact they lost last week whilst resting quite a few of their big players. Pep's not going to want to let the league sort of whimper away and just win by default. He's going to want to win in style, and I think the form they show in the league is going to transfer to the other competitions. And Gundogan, for me as a player, quite happy to keep it his price. Again, he's around the 6 million mark. I think he's going to get his minutes to provide that value, and I think if you're maybe a De Bruyne owner or a Mahrez owner even, I think you're probably going to want to stick with a little bit just because their stock's probably risen that little bit after the loss to Leeds. I think they're going to want to bounce back in the league there. So it's food for thought. I think for me, I'm not going to go to the likes of De Bruyne just because it is probably too risky. But if you do own, there's certainly merit in keeping hold of for now, I think.
Yeah, agreed. Especially when you look at some of those away fixtures that City have got coming up as well. Got in terms of games left now, obviously Villa, but then they've got Palace, Newcastle and Brighton away, and they don't normally have problems scoring goals away from home either. Feeling that when Southampton have played them at St Mary's a few times, we've had a few drubbins in the past, where particularly at the end of the season when they're getting into the sort of playing for fun territory, when they've already got the league title wrapped up.
That's when you want to try and get back on them, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's move our attention to our next sort of topic here, which was around Bruno Fernandes. He's had 2 returns in the last 6 weeks, even despite getting in amongst the action. Does he still belong in your thoughts when you're thinking about the heavy hitters at the moment, Darren?
It's an interesting one, mate, isn't it? Very interesting. I watched most of the Spurs game, and as you said, he was heavily involved. He probably could have got a few more points than he did, but other than that, I've not seen a great deal of Bruno over the last sort of 6 game weeks. So I kind of decided to, when I saw this 2 returns in the last 6, it was kind of surprising. I thought I'd have a little look into some stats. So attempts across midfielders over the last 6 game weeks, you've got Salah top with 22, a couple of other noticeable names, Mason Mount 18, De Bruyne 15, and Bruno down on 12. And then I looked at shots in the box, again Salah top, 16. A couple of other names up there: Lingard 12, Mahrez 11, Rafinha 10, and Bruno all the way down the list with just 3 shots in the box over the last 6 game weeks, which we're so used to seeing Bruno at the top of all these sort of metrics. There was a time earlier in the season where he was, it was an absolute must-have. When you look at the stats, he was top of all of them almost. Interesting enough, he's still creating a lot of chances for his teammates. Only Sonny beats him for expected assists over that period of 6 game weeks. But when you are thinking about the heavy hitters, you do want obviously the goal threat that comes with it as well. So perhaps he's maybe not performing quite how he was earlier in the season. I don't know if there's been a change of system there. Maybe any United fans out there might be able to tell us a bit more detail. But of course, you can't write off Bruno, can you? He's still a world-class player, and on his days, he's more than capable of a big haul. It's just interesting figures there. I thought I'd throw some of them out there. Interesting enough, Salah's top of, as you'd expect, shots and shots in the box. So if you're kind of comparing the two, there is no comparison in my book. What's your thoughts, Craigie?
Yeah, you make some really, really good points there. Interestingly enough, Pogba's started the last 2 games as well, and there's probably something in that. I mean, it's not the last 6; it's only the last 2. So you can't really count for the numbers in the previous 4 games from the last 2. But Pogba's obviously got goal involvements in the last 2 as well. Only an assist in each game, but again, a 7-pointer and a 5-pointer. And I know that sometimes there's been talk in the past that Pogba, when he's in the side, Fernandes takes up a slightly different role, right? He sort of drops in more in the sort of number 8 role rather than the number 10, and maybe that's actually factoring in at the moment. And I think
he's actually put an assist in tonight in the Europa League as well.
Who, Pogba?
Yeah,
there you go.
In the first half there, so he's featured again there. So I think you might well be onto something there.
Well, it takes the weight off of a Bruno, doesn't it? So you have to factor that in as well. At the end of the day, Bruno's without a doubt still the talisman for Man United, and when things aren't going well, he's there to call upon. But that's a lot of weight on his shoulders. Manchester United are a massively supported club globally. It is a lot of weight. So it's good if someone like a Pogba comes in and sort of relieves Bruno from a Manchester United perspective, not so much from an FPL perspective for us guys that are selfish and want obviously the returns from Bruno. So let me just be a bit candid here. Look, if you're making tough decisions on which premiums to have, I definitely think it's worth looking into the numbers, which Daz has referred to. It's important to look into the here and now, but I also like to look into the longer term. So obviously we've talked about the last 6 game weeks there, but last season he averaged 8.36 points per game, which is, it's astonishing. That's a huge number. It's not numbers we've seen since Salah burst onto the scene a few seasons back. It's absolutely ginormous. And this year, he's still sitting second for that same metric with 6.97 points per game as an average. Again, just there's captainable numbers across a whole season. Now, to put that into perspective, he's sitting second there behind Lingard. But of course, Lingard's data is only across 9 games. Fernandes is across 31 games.
I think
he's
top scorer,
head and shoulders. In terms of points, Dad?
Yes, yeah, overall FPL point scorer, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, look, he's right up there. He's top point scorer, as I said. He's number 1 in the metrics. For me, he's not someone to get rid of. Like, if I really had to make a decision between, say, him, Kane, Salah, Bruno honestly would be the top of the list. And then I think actually Kane would be the next to keep. I think, again, he's just churning the numbers out at the moment on a regular basis, and it would be Salah for me. So I'd rather lose Salah. I'm such a big supporter of Salah, and look at the numbers that you threw out just then, Daz. I mean, he's not someone you want to throw out when he's churning out, 22 attempts in the last 6 game weeks and 16 shots in the box. 16. You compare that, and again, that's a high number. But again, Bruno just gets those. He'll get a penalty, so that's not that's 1 shot in the box, but he gets a big point haul, and also he's a man that can just weigh in with 1 or 2 assists, which of course shots in the box then metric is kind of redundant. It's irrelevant. So look, when you're talking about those long term numbers there, Fernandes for the last 2 seasons has been the number 1. So again, I would be looking to keep him for the season running. And I know he's been dropped out of a few people's teams because they've had to make some tough decisions. Do I keep Salah, Kane? I can't have them all. For me, Fernandes would actually still be my number 1. So I'm surprised to see that he's dropped out of a few sides in our
It's interesting, isn't it, when these players who at one point in the season are almost, absolute must-own, essential And all of a sudden, if you know, 3 or 4 bad weeks and then 1 or 2 people dropping them out of the teams, questions get asked, and that's why we like the game, and it just makes it interesting.
It is why we like the game, absolutely. And just one final point, actually, I'll throw it out there because I just noticed it earlier. I see, and again, I expect him to play, to be honest. I don't know the full extent of it. I haven't looked into it. However, I have seen that Nick Pope is yellow flagged, and of course, you know, Man United are playing at home to Burnley this weekend. I don't need to say any more, do I? if Peacock Farrell's in goal, expect points for Mr. B. Fernandez. So, yeah, I think that's my final point on that.
Yeah, that's a good spot. Okay, let's turn our attention to community questions, which are your questions that you fire to us via Twitter each week, which is on our Twitter handle at First45Pod. The first question is from I'm Davey, which is at capital FPL on Twitter. They've asked, what's your thoughts on fixing mistakes in FPL? Do you stand by your decisions? Which I know there's a little bit of stubbornness with Darren, so it might always be the case. But hoping they work out, or are you quick to admit when you're wrong and correct things?
It's a great question.
Craigo, you want to start us off on that one?
There's just absolutely no room for pride in FPL whatsoever. If something doesn't work out, change. And if someone you have avoided starts banging them in, whether it's just for another game or 2 in a row, move fast. You've got to move fast. Remedy those mistakes quickly. This game moves quick. You know, what with the aggressive rises at the start of the season as well, those price rises are frantic at the beginning. And again, I know people don't play the money game so much anymore, and top managers don't do that. You certainly don't need to do it in the latter part of the season, even from sort of like game week 16, 20 onwards. But at the start, just react, just jump on, get on quick. It doesn't work. You can always move someone out. You know, you don't want to be just making transfers willy-nilly, but yeah, move fast. So my sort of summary here is if something's not gone well, and you can see just a trend occurring, then yeah, just get on with the crowd. It's not going to hurt you. You know, don't be proud about it. Just get on. It's not a sheep. Get on. And I think that we've seen that example here with a Lingard and an Iheanacho and players like that, particularly with Lingard. I've seen many people talking about it, you know, friends or people on Twitter, and they're just not on him, and they just didn't get on him, and they're thinking, oh, is he going to start, you know, regressing to his mean? He's, you know, his stats are just unrealistic. But remember, stats are based on an equal kill, right? So when they look at expected goals, they're basing that on the basis that every single player is the same, right? They're not putting in metrics like that's a Messi shot and that's a Titus Bramble shot. They're literally looking at it like that player is the same, so that expected goal metric is the same. So stats are absolutely brilliant. I love stats. And I'll always look at stats if I'm looking to make 50-50 decisions. You know, I can't make a decision between that and that. But that said, if I see a player playing like a Jesse Lingard and he just looks full of confidence and is doing the business on the pitch and he's just clinical, man. He's playing with swagger. Just get on it. Don't be proud. Move quick.
Yeah, good points, mate.
Anything to add on
good
that,
points
Darren?
from Craig there. I think, Joe, you possibly answered the question on my behalf there a little bit. I've been known to be a little bit stubborn in the past. I'll openly admit that. Definitely one of my downfalls in FPL, but
sometimes maybe for better and for worse. So I think you've kept on players where people have moved away and they've rewarded you.
It works well for you, Daz. So it's worked for you as well.
Yeah, that's
mate.
true.
It's one of those. It's a balancing act.
So yeah, I guess to summarise those 2 points, I guess the key for me is to play your own game and own your own game and you know, win or lose, do it your way, if you know what I mean. But I think,
exactly.
Craig, you do make good points, particularly on budget players. When there's budget players doing the business, we've got Lingard at the moment. In the past, we've had, you know, some of the blasts from the past: Pookie, Michu, Mahrez. These budget players, you are absolutely correct. You do have to move fast. You cannot afford to lose ground with these players because they're just too cheap. And if you get them in, it doesn't work out. You know, what have you lost? 5-6 million? It's not
exactly
you
that.
have to get on these players and. That would be my main thoughts on that one, really.
Yeah, same with Gundogan this season, right? That was another one.
I nearly was there. Again, I was nearly there. I left that for perhaps 2 or 3 game weeks because I wanted to try the Sterling route, tried the premium route, tried something that I thought would be a bit more of aggressive play. Backfired. But you've got to move fast. I saw people still holding on to a Sterling. Again, in our mini league, there are a few people that are perhaps still holding on to him for a few more games. Like, you've just got to change it up. We've all been there though. You know, I was there with Vardy that season that, you know, Mahrez was 5.5, Vardy was 6. For me, it was like Leicester are never going to keep this up. Leicester are never going to keep this up.
there.
They're never going to keep this up. Yeah, and you were there too, Daz. That was your worst performing season, wasn't it? And again, it would have just been just because of those decisions. The fact that you didn't bring in Mahrez and you didn't bring in Vardy. And I even think that was the season with Ramsey as well, where Ramsey was going to completely outperforming his numbers at, again, like 5.5 million. I didn't react quick enough on certainly on one or two of those.
Yeah. You live by the sword, you die by the sword sometimes. Okay, let's move on to David Bland's question at Blandy97 on Twitter. Who would be your third choice striker for the run-in alongside Kane and Iniacho? So you probably picked out the two standout template players there. Who would be your third option in that, Daz?
Well, I'm hoping for the benefit of my own team that Vardy might do the business, but I don't think we can really classify Vardy as a third striker. So yeah. So just having a little look at teams with the best run-ins, you've got Wolves and Sheffield United there, both with superb run-ins, but unfortunately there's going to be little to no interest in any of their attackers, unfortunately. But elsewhere, you've got West Ham. I think they've got a really good run-in, particularly from game week 34, once that Chelsea fixture's out of the way. So if Antonio can prove his fitness, I think he, as we know, he's more than capable of making a mockery of his price tag. Bamford's still up there for me. Leeds, after the next couple of game weeks, can have a decent run. Worth keeping in mind, Everton and Aston Villa have probably got an extra fixture between now and the end of the season. So DCL and Watkins, you're going to get an extra game out of those guys. And if you're on a budget, it's got to be Vidra, and he's still banging them in 4.8, 4.9, so good budget.
Yeah, 4.8, yeah.
So there's a few options there. I think for me, if I had to name one, it's difficult. It's sport for choice a little bit for forwards this season, but I think I'd probably go Antonio, providing he can prove his fitness. I think Antonio for me.
Nice choice.
Got anything to add on that, Craig?
I think Daz has covered them all. I mean, look, if you're looking for a playing third forward, I think it has to be Bamford at 6.6. You know, that Leeds just a real informed team. I like the Antonio shout as well, to be fair. I guess it could be a bit of a toss-up because West Ham have been banging form as well. I just always worry about Antonio's fitness. He's always got those niggling injuries, isn't he? And he's been out for hamstrings and all sorts, and he's always got some time off the pitch. I don't think Bamford's really got that in him. So, when you're trying to close out a season, I think try and go for the player that's perhaps not injury prone. I think Bamford might even drop to 6.5 as well. He's probably on a bit of a free fall. If he blanks against Liverpool and then blanks against Manchester United, then we could be looking at a 6.5 option there. So if you're looking for a playing one, I would say for me it would be Bamford standout. Games are good from 34 onwards for Bamford as well. They'll face Brighton, Burnley, Southampton and West Brom in their final 5 fixtures, which looks great. But as Daz has said, I completely echo his thoughts. If you're looking for someone that's just, bench fodder, someone that, you can just rely upon if you don't have someone playing, then it has to be Vidra at the moment. He's in form. He's only 4.8 million. And at the moment, it looks like Burnley are looking to him to help with the goals. So I completely agree with him on that one.
Just whilst we're on forwards as well, there, I did mention Watkins, but worth mentioning, after game week 32, Villa have got West Brom, Everton and Palace in 3 of their next 4 after that, with Grealish back, potentially a double game week to come. I don't know if there's been any news surrounding that Everton Villa game. So in the short term, I think maybe Watkins is worth considering as well.
Nice fixture run, isn't it? Yeah, really nice fixture run. Again, similar price to both Antonio and Bamford. So yeah, as you said, Daz, we're spoiled for choice this year. We've got too many good options, haven't we? Really, from a forwards category, we need more slots.
Would you ever consider a player right now like Callum Wilson, who's on their way back in a team which is fighting to stay up? Like, a team that perhaps need to find goals in order to stay in the league. Would you go there? Would you ever consider that?
Good question. I think the fact that when we were kind of making some notes for the pod, the fact that I didn't even think about Wilson probably says that he's perhaps not on my thinking, to be honest, Joey.
Yeah, not on mine either, really. If I'm not making any notes about it or thinking about it. But that's good. It's a good point, though. And again, we don't know that's football. Football's funny. It moves fast. If he goes and plays in the next game and he gets a goal or gets a goal and assist, all of a sudden we're like, whoa, gee whiz, I didn't even think about Wilson, as Dazza and I just sat here thinking about it. And as you said, they're fighting for their lives. So
I mean, their fixtures don't look great. They've got, from game week 33, they've got Liverpool, Arsenal, Leicester City before Sheffield, and then Fulham on the last day, which could be a massive game.
Yeah, that's probably why we're not thinking about him. Like, we've both Dazza and I probably subconsciously looked at those fixtures perhaps for Newcastle, and they are fighting for their lives. Tough, innit?
Realistically, you're not going to go there, are you? I don't think.
No, not when you've got Bamford, Watkins, and you've got those, and Antonio, as you said. I don't think you quite, Wilson probably comes in there around that bracket in fourth for me.
Yeah, cool. Okay, let's keep rattling through some of these questions. We've got some good ones. Next one is from FPL_nice guy, whose Twitter handle is losing the underscore in it, so it's FPL nice guy. With only 7 game weeks left in the season, how far are you planning ahead? With some teams still having double game weeks, are they included within your current decision-making process, or are you playing the short game? Also, do you focus on overall rank or mini-league success? What's more important to you? Craig, do you want to give us your first thoughts?
Really good question. Really nice. There's a couple of questions in there, but that's good. Look, I try to look a little bit more long term. I've always been sort of a 6 game week player. I've heard people talking about 8 game weeks, and they're top managers. It's interesting that they go that far. And again, don't get me wrong. It all depends, doesn't it? If the fixtures look good for a long period, then you're going to bring people in. But at the moment, with only 7 game weeks left, I'm actually looking at the next 4. I'm looking at the next 4, knowing that I have the free hit still to play. So I'm hoping that I can utilise that to attack the double game weeks. If there is, plural double game weeks, or if there is just the one, fantastic, that works well for me. And of course, we know that Everton and Villa will feature, so I'll try and load up on those assets, as I've said on the last couple of pods. And then I'll have 3 or 4 transfers to help navigate from 34 onwards. So I'm looking at kind of like a block of 4. After game week 33, when we look at game week 34, we see the likes of Leeds, Southampton, Arsenal and Everton, so 4 teams there that have some relatively decent fixtures and all have things to play for. You could argue that Southampton don't really have anything to play for, but Everton are playing for Europe, Arsenal are playing for Europe, Leeds, they want to do well in their first season back. So, I might look to bring in 1 or 2 of those assets. There is some assets there, even in Arsenal's ranks. I know he's hot and cold, but you've got someone like a Lacazette. I've got Holding at the moment. He's the only player that I own from those 4 teams, but I would like to think that it's not the end of mine and Rafinha's relationship this season. I'd quite like to bring him back in. I like him as a player. Bamford as well. Everton have obviously got Richarlison, Calvert-Lewin, Digne. So good assets there. And even Danny Ings at Southampton. So, look, those 4 clubs have got good fixtures from game week 34 onwards. I only own Holding, and it's just really bench fodder. So, yeah, look, I'm trying to play this maybe in 2 blocks, like the next few fixtures, or a few game weeks, should I call it, and then, sort of 34 to 38, really.
Yeah, for me, generally speaking, as a rule, I'm always kind of looking at 4 or 5 games. So, with the wildcard, I did have maybe one eye on the remainder of the season, but as I said, generally speaking, I'm looking at 4 games. So, for example, I've piled into Leicester, piled into Liverpool and Tottenham with the double game week, knowing that I can offload Spurs after this week if needed. Got Cody at the back, fantastic run of game for Wolves over the next 3 or 4. So, yeah, for me, it's always that sort of 4 or 5 game benchmark, really.
Yeah, neither of you guys have really covered the overall rank there before we move on. Have you got any...
No, that's a good part of the question, actually. Yeah, no, good shout, Joey. Really tough one. I find this hard. Like, being quite heavily involved in the FPL community, I can't deny I am all about the overall rank. I want to have good ranks. That aside, though, there's a bit of pride in our mini league. We've been doing it for the better part of 10 years. Us 3 on this pod, and other good friends of ours. 2 of my best mates are in this mini league. They were my best men at the wedding, so there's a lot of pride in this mini league, as you boys know. So look, it's both for me. I think the one takes care of the other, right? If you can focus on a decent overall rank, you're going to be okay in your mini league. But there could be one year where sounds like I'm shying the question, but there could be a year, couldn't there? And it's probably very unlikely with the caliber of people that are in our mini league, where we are all not having a great one, and then you just want to win the mini league, but. And you focus on your moves just based on the mini league. Yeah,
as you said, Craig, our mini league's fantastic, and there's some great friends, some of my family in the league as well. So it is very competitive. Very competitive. Historically, I've always had the eye on the mini league, and then the sort of overall rank looks after itself. Really, I do love the old the mini league. It's good fun, but as you say, mate, one looks after the other, doesn't it? If you're doing well in your mini league, you're going to be doing pretty well overall, I think. So
finish it off. What's the last question, Joey?
Let's whiz through Sid's question, whose handle is at FPL Sid. After making a good start, what are the mistakes Darren has made that he'll learn from? What's the plan for the remaining weeks to make sure that he gets his rank goals, and what is his rank goal? So one for you specifically there, Darren.
Okay. It's an interesting question, actually. It made me kind of stop me in my tracks and have a little think about it. I had to go through my my rank history and the transfers I've made and try and work out what has gone wrong. And I think ultimately, two mistakes that I pinpointed was probably sticking with TAA and Robbo for a little bit too long this year. It's a double up that served me really well over the last few years. So maybe a little bit of over loyalty there, and also not getting in Martinez. But sometimes I think we can overanalyze a little bit. I think sometimes it is. You do need a bit of luck, and that's the only difference, really. I think there's so many variables. I've always played the game instinctively, and I'll continue to do so. At the time this season, it's not like I took my eye off the ball or I wasn't paying attention. I've always been there. I've been trying to make the best decisions, and they just don't always work out, do they? You guys know that. Yeah,
of course. Martinez is an interesting point, though. Martinez is an interesting point. I mean, that is a guy that's, up to, say, 5 or 6 weeks ago, he's already churned out in sort of, by game week 26, 27, he's churned out 140 odd points. He's at 161 now. He's been a bit more quiet recently. But that said, I've got rid of him on wild card. And even in the last 2 game weeks, he's got 4 pointers. He's not even kept a clean sheet.
But at the time when perhaps I should have got him, you've got other fires to put out, and you're kind of thinking, do I really want to waste the transfer on a goalkeeper? It just it doesn't feel right to me. But then he's going and getting double digit hauls most weeks for a certain period of time, and it just killed me. But
so what's your goals then, Darren? Before we move on to for a side.
To be honest, I'm still hanging in there with hope for a top 10k. I'd love to get another top 10k. I think. Seems like a long way off, but Craig's just proved this game week how quickly he can jump. He's moved from 30k to 15k, and he's there. It's within touching distance. Yeah. So
you're not out of it, mate. Nor are you, Joey. It's within touching distance, lads. Even if you're in the top 50k at this point, I'm telling you now, people get a bit down. Oh no, I'm not too sure. Seriously, even if you're the top 70k, 80k, I think that's probably maybe he gets cut off around the 100k mark. But there's chances. There's chances, and even if you be a bit aggressive, you can get need a bit of luck. You need a bit of luck if you're going to take, a -4 or -8. And again, I'm not saying to recommend that or condone it, but if you want to do one off, in the next 7 game weeks to try and capitalise, honestly. But 30k, 30 and 40k out, which are your levels respectively, both of you can get that top 10k, no doubt.
Yeah, I'm not giving up yet, boys.
No.
Yeah, I think it's probably to echo the message for people who perhaps aren't having the season that they want, it's still up for grabs. Even if you're back at 250k, 300k, 400k, exactly. 100k finish is still on the table. You can make those gains very quickly.
Very quickly.
There's still a lot.
Especially when you have chips, lads. Especially when you have chips, you have to remember a lot of the casual players. There's probably less and less of them these days, particularly around this sort of number now. There's a lot of obviously players that get really into their FPL, but there will still be the odd casual there that might have used all of their chips at the start of the season around the sort of around these marks, right? So let's say that out of the top 30,000, there might be 10,000 players that have used all of their chips already. It's a big advantage. It can be a big swing. You can move up 5-10k places, with an extra 15-20 points. So it's never over till it's over.
Tell you what, Craig, he was just talking about goals there, and my ultimate goal this season, I think I'd love to finish above you, mate. I'd enjoy that, but I cannot, and I refuse
All right, Keegan.
to finish below Joey.
Oh, here we go.
I'd never live it down.
What's the forfeit?
This is it. We have to have it. Come on, then. We're live now, really. Well, we're not live because obviously it's pre-recorded and you're going to do your editing, Joe. But this bit states. I think you two need to have a little friendly side bet. It's time.
Sure. What odds are you giving me
out there? No odds. Just Whoever loses, I'm going to say whoever loses out of the two of you needs to basically do something like what we've heard before in our mini leagues, the fun thing. So the hoover in the house, the making the dinner, the washing the car has to happen. Come on, Joe. It's for a bit of fun, mate. It's for the pod.
Absolutely. That's just me. I might as well just pop round tomorrow, Darren, and do some hoovering, mate.
He's defeatist already.
No, it's not that. I'm starting with like a 20-point deficit.
Are you?
Yeah.
Is it that bad, is it, Joe?
I might as well just come and whip round and,
only 14
bring the
points
ironing in.
14
bring the
points
washing
in
in.
it. God.
Yeah.
Well, okay, well, I'll tell you what.
If we went off scratch now, then might be a bit more interesting.
All right, here we go.
Here we go.
Come on then. Off scratch. Let's just do it off scratch then. We're here now. It's been thrown out.
Millsy stirring this shit.
Here we go. Yeah, what about you?
Who's going to hoover whose house? 14-point handicap. We'll talk about it each pod. Are you going to go in?
I think Darren will need it by the time the twins come as well. So
that's a good point, actually. You can come and change a few nappies as well.
Right, let's move on.
Oh no, he's bailed. He's going to cut all this out.
We'll confirm we'll confirm something in next week's pod. All right.
All right then.
Right, let's move on to our charity four-a-side contest. So this week we have got FPL Nymphria, who's a sort of big YouTuber on an FPL front. She's got quite a few followers, been doing it for quite a while now. Some really excellent content, so I'd really advise going and checking that out when you have the chance. So she's up against the guys this week, and she's picked quite a fruity team. So let's listen to the tape now of who she's picked.
Hi guys, I'm FPL Nymphria, the first female fantasy football YouTuber, and I create content on YouTube and my social media platforms all about football and FPL. Pleased to be taking on Craig and Darren for Game Week 32 in the charity four-a-side competition by representing the community. An interesting fact nobody knows about me is that I have a mostly Irish family and a fairly well-known Irish dancing teacher in the family too. So, from a very, very young age, I was taught to Irish dance and won a few medals in my early years in Irish dancing competitions. So, on to my selection. It's tough this week with the Spurs double game week. I'm going to make it lots of fun this game week by using up all of my budget on just one player. So with that, my goalkeeper is Johnston at 4.5 million as the top informed goalkeeper in the game right now. 2 clean sheets and an assist in the last 4 game weeks. It's risky because I don't see a clean sheet, and I think he'll need his saving gloves against Leicester to get me some points. My defender is West Ham's Masuaku at just 4.3 million. We're all about budget here. I could have gone Soufal, but Masuaku is a bit of a differential. He got an assist against Wolves and faces a leaky Newcastle side up next. In midfield, I'm taking a big gamble with the 4.2 million Emile Smith-Rowe, flagged with an injury so may not play, but he has been reported that he's available. Even if he starts, he's not guaranteed to return. As an Arsenal fan, I just have to hope for a return to form against Fulham. Up front is, of course, Sir Harold of Kane, top scorer forward in the game with a double game week. I had to go for it, didn't I? With that, my selection is complete and it adds up to a whopping 24.7 million. I think I've given you guys plenty of chances with my differentials this game week, Darren and Craig, so lots of luck.
Woo! Straight in there with Kane. Wow, 11.7 million of a 25 million budget. Absolute budget central outside of that then.
Digging around in the old bargain basement to
the old
fund
bargain
Kane,
bucket there, Nim.
Yeah.
It could work though.
Yeah, Nim said there early on that, when she sent us our little VT, she said that she might be doing you guys a favour. But to be honest, I think we've seen some quite low scores with our teams in previous weeks, so that could pay off massively actually could be.
We've tried to go balanced,
a lot of bother,
and the balance doesn't always work. Sometimes you can go for it. We had FPL hints last week. Very unfortunate there because he did the same thing where he obviously went with Kevin De Bruyne again, another sort of standout option for the week. Similar price as well to Kane, but obviously didn't play. We're obviously not going to see that with Kane, so it was painful for him. Still did better than I did though.
Yeah, he still scored three more points.
Didn't have
than
De
you
Bruyne,
there,
so he didn't have his main linchpin in there, and each one of my players got 2 points each.
Yeah, it's just brutal,
brutal.
So, I mean, in terms of last week, Darren scored 17 points. The FPL community, who Nim's going to be representing this week, scored 11, and Craig was on 8, which brings the total standings to Darren leading with a score of 258. The community just behind, 246 points, and Craig, what is that, 24 points behind Darren there at 234.
It's not looking great. It's looking like I'm donating £100 to Mind Charity at the moment, isn't it? Which, to be fair, I'm okay with that. Glad it's a good cause.
Yep.
Yeah,
not looking good, but hey, right.
Hang in
do
there,
it.
mate. Plenty
Let's
to
do
play
it.
for.
Yeah.
My first pick is going to be straight in Iheanacho, 6.0 million.
Form man.
Yeah.
I'm going ballsy as well. I'm going Harry Kane going in.
Are you?
Yeah.
Oh, you've gone striker as well, Dan. Interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Oh no. Makes no odds, does it?
Oh,
We're
it
going to have
does,
different
but go
teams
on.
now.
That is true. You can't.
You would never go and bargain.
You can't. That's a good point. With Kane in there,
I've got
you
away
literally
with one.
You have to go sub fives, don't you? But yeah, to be fair, Dale, I'm actually glad that you've done that because I've done that on 2 or 3 pods now, and it's almost embarrassing, and you've never done it.
It's easily done, though, isn't it?
It is. You get excited. You couldn't wait to tell us that you'd got Kane.
Yeah.
Wow. we might have guessed when you put in someone like Bissouma in midfield.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Smith
So
Rowe.
you've gone for that route. God, you're going to be bargain basements here, mate.
Well, you could make this really tricky here, Craig, because you could be picking bargain basements as well and pushing down into
well,
problems.
to be fair, I thought it'd be really bloody fast, but because he's picked Kane, he's thrown me right off, meaning that I could go a different route here. So let me just do a quick sum up here. I'm going to go. I want to go Son, but I'm going to try and keep my team balanced this week. I'm going to go for Lucas Moura.
Okay. I'm going to go for Rob Holdham.
Yeah, you have to go cheapies, don't you?
Yep. 4.2. Home to Fulham.
It's quite nice that. I'm going to go for in goal. I'm going to go for Patricio in goal. Home to Sheffield United.
Okay. I've got to go for Fraser Forster in goal. I know. I've got to, hopefully Kano does the business. I mean, we left with bloody Forster in goal. Jesus. And you've done your team, haven't you? You got left.
You can pick. I've already picked a midfielder, so you're welcome to pick your midfielder, mate.
Right. Okay. So I'm going to go for Højbjerg.
I'm looking forward to it.
Højbjerg.
Yeah,
Almighty.
Guaranteed 2 games. Hopefully 4 points. Thank you very much. Move on.
it is this. Oh, to be fair,
Take a couple of bookings on a red card or something.
Well, yeah.
I think I prefer Nim's Kane team to yours, Dad.
You reckon?
I like Masuaku. Yeah, at least he's playing a bit out of position, isn't he?
Smith Rowe had a goal disallowed tonight as well.
Not sure Smith Rowe's going to get. I know. Yeah, Højbjerg. I know. At least we get with Højbjerg, you're going to get games, aren't you? How much is he?
4.9.
Yeah, you're really going bargains, aren't you? You can't even afford an Ndombele. I'd have preferred him, but I think he's 5.9, something like that. So yeah, that's bargain based. Right, let's finish this off. Quick top up. I've got money to burn. I think. I kind of wish I went Son, but I don't think it would have really worked.
He's going to regret that one.
I should have gone Son, shouldn't I? Never mind. I quite like Lucas Moura. He's been doing all right recently. Going to give him the game. I'm going to be under budget here. My last player, I'm going to go for Reguilon. So there you go. Not too bad. Fingers crossed.
In goal?
I got Patricio in goal. Could have afforded Lloris, but
Surprised you didn't go Lloris.
it's a bit silly, isn't it? Well, look, away at Everton, home to Saints, both could score, couldn't they? So
you've gone.
should have gone Lloris,
Reggie.
but yeah, I'm not really thinking straight. Patricio, hopefully at home to Sheffield United, can keep them out, keep them at bay.
Yeah, you think so, wouldn't you?
Hopefully. You watch Lloris go and bring in 15 pointer now, which is what I really need at the moment.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I've not really thought that one through. Cheers, Dad, for rubbing that in.
Rightio. Let's wrap things up there. Have a great Game Week 32. Don't forget to let us know your thoughts on Twitter at First45Pod. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on your podcast platform of choice. And have a very good game week from all of us here. Have a good one.
Good night.
Ciao.